Hello, my name is Angela Lang, and I serve as the Executive Director of BLOC, Black Leaders Organizing for Communities, and I'm just going to get straight into some of the answers. So the first question is, why did you choose to help the community of Milwaukee? I am born and raised in Milwaukee, have literally never lived anywhere else. It is a choice at this point. I was one of those people that wanted to move far away from Milwaukee growing up, and it just wasn't a thing that worked out for me. And ultimately, I went to UWM, and I learned so much about community. I learned so much about organizing, and I really kind of just felt that Milwaukee kind of helped raise me. And so now I think it's a beautiful thing to be able to organize, where you grew up, being able to have that really deep and personal connection. And so for me, I see it as wanting to do my part in helping our communities thrive. And if I could play a small role in organizing some of that, then I will. Did you ever experience racism or violence in Milwaukee, and how did that make you feel? Absolutely. I've faced racism on an interpersonal level where, people have called me the N-word. There's the microaggressions, the angry Black woman for being loud and outspoken. There's even some of the microaggressions of being in meetings and being talked over or being silenced, things like that. I also had a teacher one time when I was in 7th grade that said Black people are poorly educated. And so all of those different things I think were really formative. It's something it cuts deep, but I think, the more you realize that it's happening, the more I think people are moved to do something about it. And so whether it's on an interpersonal level, one person to another, or it's being shut out of a job and you think it's maybe because of how you wore your hair or your name, those are all different ways of racism as well. And I think it's something that, as like I said, as hard as it is to deal with on a daily basis, then hopefully it moves people to action. It's something that we are able to feel as a lived experience, and that lived experience really drives people to make a change in our systems so that what happens on an interpersonal level or even on an institution level hopefully doesn't continue to happen. And so while it made me feel terrible in the moment, for me personally, it's a lot of why I do what I do, and it drives me every single day. I don't want people to experience some of the things that I've experienced, and even worse things that I may not have experienced. It's not something that anybody should have to go through and how they should live their lives. So, as terrible as it was, I think it's something that can be a motivating factor for a lot of us. Kind of like anger. Anger is a strong motivating factor, and I think that's kind of how I experience racism and how that shows up in my work too. What is one thing you do every day to help make Milwaukee better? I think for me, what is one thing that I do is I try to see the best in people. Sometimes it's not always the most helpful. You can get your feelings hurt that way. You can be kind of naive and people take you for granted. But I think being able to see people as full people, to see that sometimes people are having just a bad day and that has nothing to do with you, or understanding how people can be products of their environment, going back to systemic racism as well. And so I think being able to see the best in people and to give people the benefit of the doubt, I think really goes a long way to building relationships. I really value building relationships and being able to see people, get to know their stories, understand what moves them to action. Everyone has a reason why they're doing this work. Everyone has a reason they're doing whatever work that they're doing. And I think it's a beautiful thing to be able to connect on just a very basic human level. And I don't think that's something that we do very often. And so for me, as difficult at times as it may be, I try to see the best in people. There are times that people don't always necessarily deserve it. And that doesn't mean you always have to, give people the benefit of the doubt all the time when you know that they're hurting you. But I think just taking a pause and trying to be a little bit kinder and maybe understand that we don't know someone's full story can, I think, really go a long way too here in Milwaukee. Why is addressing racism important to you? It's important to me because it's personal. I live my life as a Black woman, and so I often sit at that intersection of Blackness and womanhood, and what does that mean? And oftentimes, it doesn't feel that there is a fair start or a fair advantage in life. You know, we're looked at differently, we're criminalized, we're treated differently, and you know, I go up the street or you go to the other side of town and you see that that's not the case. You see people that don't look like you aren't over policed. They are able to live comfortably and safely without harassment or threats. And I think that's something that we all deserve. It shouldn't be for some people and not others. It shouldn't be based off of race or class or gender. And so for me, being able to dismantle and talk about and identify how white supremacy is taking up so much of the conflicts and the disagreements and the challenges that this country faces. It's more than disagreements, but being able, I think, to tackle white supremacy really starts to chip away and lead to a more healthy and just society, and one where everyone can feel that no matter where they came from, what they look like, who they love, they're able to live a happy, healthy, long, and thriving life. How can young people in Milwaukee help stop racism? I love when young people ask how they can get involved. I am starting to realize that I am no longer a youth the way I used to be. I am going on 32. And so I'm happy to pass the mantle or to mentor younger folks. And I think there's so many different opportunities for people to get involved, but it kind of starts with taking that leap of faith. And it can be challenging. It can be difficult. You may be the only one on this journey, but it starts somewhere, and it starts being able to find an organization or find a person that you connect with. And what are your values? What are the issues that you really want to champion? And if you don't see an organization that kind of fits those values, start one. That's kind of what I did. I didn't think that I would be here in my life. This was not in my 5-year plan, but it was something that led me to this point to get here. And it's a really good decision that I made. And I'm very glad to help lead such a dynamic organization. And so young people can get started now, making your voices heard. Social media is incredibly powerful. Seek out mentors, seek out other organizations that you can get involved in. I think there's a strong consensus amongst my generation that we are looking forward to the young people taking over the world. You are our future, and it is so important for you to be supported and being able to lead the way around the issues that you care about, and in being able to feel that support. So find a mentor, find someone that can take you under their wing, and then also start to think about, where do you want to fit in this movement and in this moment right now? And what are the ways that you can get there? You can start to talk to elected officials. You can have meetings with organizations. You can plant gardens. There's so many different things to do in the community, and there's not a lack of work at all. So it really kind of just starts with taking the first step. And that first step can be scary, but if it's something that you really, really are interested in, you'll keep trying until you find something that fits for you.